Okay, so I have my assistant Vanna White here. So take a picture of me. Look. All right. This was the crankshaft chucked in the 1942 South Bend 12 by 48 lay. Still got the World War II War Department stickers on it. We've got our, this is a demo, it's already been done. I'll show the technique. We've got our 3M strip of emery cloth. Oh, I need a little oil. I gotta walk around here. Okay, and there's a little mishap with the button. So any old lube will do. We just need something oily. A little of the famous WD stuff will do nicely. So I'm going to put a little more polish on this end one. Get a little bit of oil on it. All right. Now this is going to be spinning. We get our hand caught in here or here, bad things will happen. The hand will come off, blood all over, make a bad video. We're not going to do that. So we get our stuff in here. Lightly hold, because as this grabs, it'll pull your hand in. We're going to start the lay. And we're dragging the circle past the other part. We're just going back and forth to get a nice polish on it. And in this case, when the journals have been damaged, when they're all done, we'll mic them out. Actually, the right size, and they're not oval-shaped. They're pretty close to a true circle. Alright, so we grab a rag, come over here, looking at this, and we got a nice shiny surface that we polished. And that is how that was done. And when I started, this crankshaft looked horrible. It had babbitt and bearings stuck all over it. I pried the bearings loose. Actually had to run a fine mill bastard file over it to take some of that heavy stuff off. Hit it with edges, and then we got it to the point where it polished and it cleaned up pretty good. So did not have to turn the crank. And like I said, the real problem with this engine is they don't have they basically have standard and single oversized bearings. So I could have turned the crank, but there was no way that I would have been allowed to line bore the block and have it work. Okay, lithium grease. Not too worried about this. This is just to keep stuff from sticking. With an honest to God assembly lube later on. What I'm going to do is we're going to coat up this crankshaft with first I'm going to have to get a... Right, so we got our mold release, our bearing shells. We've cleaned up our block and our rod caps. Okay, got some grease. Alright, and get some on there. Get some on there. Get some on there. Keep it on there. And again, the intention is to make this not stick. And secondary, of course, is to make sure there's a bit of clearance, but that's strictly secondary. The main thing I don't want to end up with is way too much clearance here. If it's a little inconsistent, I can tolerate it. If it is way too much, I'll have to go to a plan B. So doop-a-doop-a-doop. And of course this all has to get cleaned off when we actually assemble it. And replaced with fresh clean grease. Flush everything out of all the passages. And the last thing we want is any Belzona supermetal stuck anywhere that's supposed to be smooth and slippery and rotating, because that will make an engine self-destruct in pretty short order. Alright. So, a couple of key takeaways to this. Anybody that's worked with epoxy, if you're new to it, where you want it to stick, you want it clean as clean can be, and absolutely no grease. We don't want it to stick. You want a good mold release, sacrificial material, and or some good greasy stuff stuck all over it, so whatever you're putting on doesn't stick to the parts you don't want it to stick to. Obvious, but probably should state it because not everybody's worked with this stuff. And I'm sure a lot of this will get speeded up. So we'll add some nice music to it as we do it. Because I know I'd rather not watch paint dry. If this thing turns into a 25-minute video, I'm going to lose half of you halfway through it. So we'll slow down for the really important parts or the fun parts, if there are any. And we'll speed through. All right, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Main bearings coated in heavy lithium grease.